We ready to rock and roll? Okay, let's go ahead and let's bring this Community Reinvestment Agency meeting to order. We'll go ahead and get started. The first thing on the agenda is consider approval of the minutes dated September 19th, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have Katie and Bob. Our motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have approved minutes. Okay, next on the agenda is a discussion. The next steps on the CRA. So Doug, if you don't mind coming up and enlightening us.
Excuse me for my laptop.
It's okay. Well, it's better than running out of power when you.
Well, good evening. It's always sure appreciate getting to know you better.
There, now you're being recorded.
Appreciate getting to know all of you better, and certainly have gotten to know the mayor better. That's a pleasure. So next steps regarding the Far West Marketplace Community Reinvestment Project area. I'm sure all of you know that since our last meeting, when we said we've got a draft budget finalized, not long after that, the developer said, we're on hold. And so, and hold meant the potential primary anchor, not an insurance like we all hoped it would be or thought it would be. And so that's on hold. And that's the biggest component of both, single component of both real property value in addition to potential sales tax revenue for your city. So there's really, in terms of CRA work, appropriately, we could come up with things to do, but there's no point in doing that because without, that primary core anchor or replacement anchor that you're all happy with, and I think that's a key thing. I think that we just need to make it official that we're on pause, and I need you to tell me to not do any more work, not that I have done any more. In terms of the proposal we put together for you, the key, and it was broken up into 4 different kind of overall steps. And the key piece of the first step was finishing a budget, which we did. Another part was having conversations with the taxing entities, informal, and we've covered most of those. We developed we developed the start of your process and schedule. We gave that to you last CRA meeting. We didn't finish it because we had more to achieve, and then we got put on hold. So we got through part of step 1, and from my perspective, I'd just like to leave it at that. I'm not going to invoice you unless you tell me, because I didn't finish step 1 completely. We've done other things. And if it all goes upside down, then maybe we can get back together and talk about that, what that looks like. But otherwise, I think it's appropriate you just stop. And as far as I know, we haven't received any updates at all. Is that correct, Mayor?
We haven't had any new updates, but they haven't completely gone away either, because they have been involved with some road discussions, for instance. And I've also been in discussion with their, obviously reaching out with some data, because gathering some data for them at Landmark for.
Great.
Oh,
So that's the discussion. That's where I am. I don't know in terms of the process and the next steps associated with the CRA planning process that's driven by the code. Again, there's really nothing appropriately for me to do, again, that would be appropriate to spend time and bill you for until you know what the developer's going to do.
Sounds like you're ditching us, Doug. Just kidding.
Excuse me?
I just said, it sounds like you're ditching us.
No, sir. Yeah.
he's gonna go skiing.
Yes, we hope so.
So, but what we have done is not for naught, right? I mean, it's still valuable. We still have an area defined. We can still continue with whatever we need to with the road. What we can do with the road, for instance.
Certainly, yeah. Big piece of having that survey area resolution. We did not record it, so it's not official until we record that resolution that you passed. And in terms of the timing of the CRA, I don't know that it really matters whether you record it this year or next year. But if you record it this year, then a new taxing area is created for 2025. And so, and it doesn't do anything other than draw a boundary and create a new taxing area. It doesn't change anybody's tax rate. It doesn't impact anybody financially or value-wise or zoning or anything else.
Just identifies it.
Yeah, and so, but I would say from an economic development marketing perspective, which we really don't need to do in this economy, but if worst case scenario, this developer that you've been working with which from my experience perspective is a high quality developer and someone that you can count on and depend on, that's not always a comment we have when we're talking about, working with large scale developers. But if they walk away, lets another future developer know that you're serious about considering some type of facilitation. So you can decide whether you want to record it this year or next year. Technically, I don't think it matters at this point.
I have a quick question. Last Friday, I went to a meeting with Stephanie at Weber County. And she was enlightening a couple of mayors, including myself, of the Rural Communities Opportunity Grant. That's some things that can have to do with, we are a small enough city right now that we are eligible for that because we're under 10,000 in a second class county, as they call it. So that's something we can put in for. We can only put in for 600,000, but that can go towards some things towards economic development or, attracting businesses, those types of things. So.
Well, if you'd like assistance with that, we can talk about that. I'm happy to help with that. We can look at that.
I just barely started reading through it because unfortunately I got there late because something happened on the freeway last Friday that really caused everybody's lives to go upside down, at least traffic wise. And so I missed a good portion of it, but I got all the documentation. Reading through it and then understanding it are not necessarily the same thing. I kind of understand it. Sure. But it's like any of these grants, it has to do with, you have to have a timeline. One of the things you can some of the fund matching you have to have for our side of the city, a 20% match for these grants. And one of the sources can be a redevelopment agency.
Is this a federal EDA funding grant?
I think it's state.
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 Good.
Utah Code section establishes the Rural Opportunities Program. Instructs the governor and all that kind of stuff so. Yeah, because we had that conversation because we understand once the federal gets involved, it gets extremely complicated.
I'm scary.
Yeah, well, yeah, Katie will discuss some of that.
I'm not ready to discuss it yet. I'm still dealing with the trauma
For a playground.
yeah.
So anyway, so if that's something we can at least have continued conversations about, maybe that's something we can look into and possibly apply for something like that. It's not nothing, but it's
great.
We were supposed to meet with Pleasant View, but Pleasant View does not qualify. They have more than 10,000 people.
Their population.
Yes, they are not in the list of qualified communities. So, but we are.
I mean, I'd like to see us explore that. I'm just kind of looking at it on my laptop and it looks like, it could cover infrastructure, capital facilities improvements, recruitment, development, expansion of business. So I think there's a lot of possibilities that we could utilize that for.
Wonderful. I'd love to look into it with you and for you, and we can go from there. That would be
Okay,
great.
yeah, this is something new that's been kind of offered to us, and I'm kind of like, all right, maybe something we should look at. Because, you know, anytime you can get money from someone else, you should
Correct.
consider it.
Yes, and as we look into it, we'll understand if there are any tentacles that are attached to that are okay or not okay.
Right.
Oh, it looks like it closes on the 30th, so we'll want to move pretty quickly on that.
We can at least get an application in maybe.
Great.
Stephanie said she could help too, so,
She's very helpful.
yeah. Okay, thank you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so is that everything with next steps then? Okay,
Sorry, but, you know, we can keep you on retainer basically until if those conversations start happening again and.
Certainly. I'm not going anywhere, sir. I'm just gonna pause on my work.
Well, I appreciate what you've done and your
thank you.
expertise, and you've been a really good asset to us.
Thanks. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
You mentioned holding the invoice. How long is fair and considered for you?
Oh, let's say through the first quarter of next year. I think if you don't have progress from a developer by then, it's probably appropriate for both of us to figure out what we're gonna do. Is that okay with you?
yes, it is.
Thank you.
One more little quick question. When you talk about recording
The resolution for the
yes, the
survey?
resolution, do you foresee at all any advantages of getting it done this year? I mean, I'd hate to miss an opportunity just because we think it's not going to affect us.
No, nothing other than from a very remote marketing possibility. I don't think that the current developer's going away anytime soon. They've invested way too much time, money, and resource and energy into this. And so I think it's gonna be them, but
If there was another developer out there that we
yeah.
would be
Sure.
wanting to court, for instance, then maybe it would be, but
And you can record it, we can record it December 31st at 4:30, and it will create a taxing area next year. But so the technical part of that is what that's tied to in terms of the tax increment dollars that start to flow in once you have new vertical. It's all about timing. And so if we record it this year or record it next year, that allows us to pull increment from new development inside that boundary, right? The new property tax revenue. But if there's no new vertical improvements and no increase in property value due to development, not the market going up, but just due to development, doesn't matter anyway, because there's no increment generated. And we didn't really anticipate increment triggering on this until 2026, maybe 2027. So you have time. I don't think you're
makes
gonna
a lot
miss
of sense.
anything.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
And I think the developer, they have some skin in the game because they have a lot of properties under contract, so
Yes.
they want to do something about it. Now it's,
I don't think we need to abandon them because
No,
they
no.
certainly haven't purposely abandoned us.
no,
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you have the best location in the county for a retail anchor, as they were discussing, in addition to the home, to the multifamily development. I think that's super appropriate and a quality one. And you've got a city that's progressive, and you've got $5.4 million already available for road infrastructure, and you're open to considering using increment for more infrastructure that the developer might otherwise incur. So it's a gift.
Thank you.
okay. Cool. Okay, Housing Authority is our next discussion.
Yes, in the past, you've heard me mention housing authority, and if we're gonna, and because tax increment, from a project area that exceeds $100,000 in any given year, you must take 10% of that and attribute it to housing, essentially affordable housing. And it's been a handful of years since I've worked with a city that didn't have that budgeting infrastructure in place, and the code used to require that you had a housing authority. Used to. Before this meeting, I wanted to make sure I was current on the code, and there was actually some changes that just occurred this year to that part of the statute under the CRA statutes, and I got to meet your finance guy this evening, and he and I talked about it a little bit as well. So you don't need a housing authority. You need a line item in your budget that says housing fund.
Okay, so we don't need to create
No,
once again, another board with the same members on it?
yeah, no
Because we
boards.
kind of already are.
You could if you want to, but you
but we
don't need to.
Okay,
And Cody's already very aware of it, understands how that part of it works. And so just wanted to give you a brief update on it. So it'll be between you and him as to when you create that line item in your budget.
What do you do with that money that goes to, in that bucket, that 10%?
So the code has some parameters on how you may spend the money. And essentially it's the easiest way to think about it, it's in support of affordable housing. So this project in 27 at Far West Marketplace was anticipated to have multifamily housing apartments, right? And if the developer constrained a certain percentage of those units and maintained rent at a level that met the affordable moderate income housing numbers or requirements, we could provide those dollars in that housing fund budget to the developer to assist with that, or infrastructure related to those kinds of things.
but we would get to choose how it's distributed.
Correct.
Because if we didn't, it would go to Olene.
Correct. And you can spend money as well on developing and broadening your housing plan. But the best thing, I think, is consistent with what I perceive. You don't have a formal policy, but your general guideline on increment dollars is let's find the best way to circulate it back into some type of public asset or public benefit. And the constraints that are in the code kind of require you to do that because it has to be associated with moderate or affordable housing in some manner, but you have a lot of control over that.
I think there's a pretty broad spectrum on things that
Yes,
fall
sir.
into that category. We could use it on.
Would that require us to adopt an ordinance within our city code to indicate, how that money was to be collected and expended?
Or could you do?
Code
that?
does not indicate it requires an ordinance. Liam, there could be other parts of the code that may direct that, or Cody might know, but the way I look at the community reinvestment code, it doesn't indicate that you would need to do that. But you could certainly pass a policy or a guiding principle that set that in forth if you wanted to. But I think it would be probably most appropriate somewhat project by project.
And I think you mentioned before, part of that could also be for any consulting that we might need for housing and whatnot. Just as another example.
Yes. Excuse me. So that's that very quick update.
Okay, so we don't need a housing authority. We're on hold for the CRA. Do you have any more interesting things we need to discuss?
With this project, the city and the developer has contemplated a public infrastructure district. Do you have a policy?
I don't think we have a policy
Okay.
yet.
You have the language, draft language? Okay. I'll be helping Mary at Slaterville.
Stephanie, and she was willing to enlighten us.
I'm gonna draft a public infrastructure district policy for Marriott Slaterville City. And when we get that draft in place, I'll just share it with you, and I think they should be very similar because you're similar sized cities and you're next to one another. And so that was why I'm asking. So sometime within the next 30 days.
Yeah. Well, there might be other opportunities besides the marketplace where
Sure.
a PID may come into, like on the south end, which is in conjunction with Marriott Slaterville.
Correct. And they are in
That's also coming over the horizon at us. So
this year.
And you said you didn't think we needed to be doing anything to, feels like we've kind of got down the path far on this, but we shouldn't be doing any like recruitment or marketing for other tenants.
Not at this point. No. And with respect to that, if you're speaking to the real estate on 2700 North, yeah, I think the city would be stepping on the developer's toes at this point.
yeah, they're already doing that. So.
So,
Okay.
thank you all.
Thank you,
very
Doug. I
much.
appreciate it. We all appreciate everything you've been doing for us. You've been very succinct in all your descriptions, so I feel more educated because of it.
Oh, great. Thank
That
you
was
so
a
much.
fun experiment.
It's a real pleasure to work with all of you as elected people and elected servants and no politics. And
Well, and I'm
Grateful
actually
for that.
confident that we're not done yet.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that,
hope so.
they will be back.
I'm rather confident, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm trying to imagine where we would go with their idea. I'm still having a hard time imagining that.
Well, and again, you have a gift in that location.
Yes, look,
The
that's,
property is too prime for even this developer to just ignore.
And which gives you some confidence that you don't have to just accept anything,
right.
right?
That's the key right there.
And if, your zoning allows
Yes.
a property owner to do a whole list of things, but that doesn't mean, if you don't feel like the quality of whatever assets that's gonna be on the ground there, you have some negotiating power with the CRA to offset public infrastructure costs, and that's tremendously valuable.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the property's not going anywhere.
oh,
The location will exist forever, and someday something very cool will happen there.
sure will.
It's up to us to ensure the right things, so.
Thank
With
you
your
again.
help, of course.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
maybe I'll see you later.
Hope so. I'll take my jacket off.
Okay, I have one more agenda item here.
I move that we adjourn the CRA meeting for today.
And we wait a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are done with the CRA meeting. So we'll take a break for about 5 minutes and then we'll come back for our regular meeting. So if we can pause the Okay. Okay. Bring this meeting to order. Mic's on, phone's off. Here we go. Yeah, for our regular city council meeting, we're going, and of course, I have a note here to wave to the YouTubers, because I said I would, because apparently we have quite a few people that watch us. So thank you for being here, as well as our masses here in the audience. We're going to start off with an opening ceremony. Boyd's going to pray for us, and Katie's going to lead us in the pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful to be able to be gathered here this night. We're grateful, Father in heaven, for the moisture which we have received and are receiving. We're grateful for this community and those people who reside in it. We pray for each one of them with their trials and troubles, or whatever their situation, they might be blessed and watched over and protected. We might be able to continue to make decisions that would be good for this small community. We could do things to help build unity and to build good things now and in the future. We're grateful for this opportunity we have to be together tonight and make decisions. We pray we might be wise in doing so. And this is our prayer this night in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please rise and repeat after me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, thank you, Boyd. Thank you, Katie. On to comments and reports. First, we're going to start off with public comments. Anybody? Anybody? No public comments. You get 2 minutes. Our undivided attention. Apparently, still not enough temptation. So on to report from Planning Commission. Lyle?
I'm coming for Geneva. She is out of town on business. The Planning Commission held their meeting, a work session at 5:30 and a regular public meeting at 6:30. The work session consisted of, we discussed for a little bit of time the PD overlay ordinance that we're currently working on. And then also we finished the rest of the work session on the West Creek Master Development Agreement, which we'll be voting on tonight. It's presented to you folks tonight. And then also we set a public hearing, we held a public hearing for a conditional use permit for David Chugg for a 4,000 square foot accessory building, and that'll come before you as well. And then also we set a public hearing for the West Creek for consider approval for the West Creek Master Development Agreement. That was a unanimous, let's see here. Yeah, that was a unanimous vote, although there was one nay vote. And then we also set a public hearing for the rezone of the West Creek Master Development. And then we reported on assignments, approved the minutes, and ended the meeting. Any questions?
Questions? No? Okay, don't go anywhere yet, Lyle, because the next thing is assignments and direction for the Planning Commission. So David J's not here tonight, but Housing Committee does have something for the external accessory dwelling units.
Okay.
I'll even give you this piece of paper because he gave me a piece of paper. I'll also send it to you in electronic format, but there's a copy of it with just basically notes of what it could be. I'll bring it down to you after the meeting. And so that is one of the strategies of our housing plan, and that is just meaning we're making our progress, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so it's something to work on.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
For future work sessions.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anything else we want to give the Planning Commission, or have we overloaded them? No, I don't think we've overloaded them. We've just made sure we kept them busy.
Oh, yeah, we can handle it.
Okay. Thank you, Lyle.
You're welcome.
Okay, on to consent items, assignments and, okay, we did that. Consider approval of minutes dated October 3rd, 2024.
I'll make a motion. Do we approve the minutes?
I'll second.
Katie and Tim are motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Unanimous. Consider approval of bills dated October 11th, 2024.
Make that motion to pay the bills.
Second the motion to pay the
Okay,
bills.
I'm gonna go with this side over here. We've got B&B with Boyd and Bob. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, on to business items. Consider approval of a conditional use permit for David Chug for a 4,000 square foot accessory building. I think we've all looked at it. Dave, you want to come up and explain it a little bit? I mean, I attended, but these guys didn't.
David Chug, 1648 Far West Drive. So, yeah, I'm just putting up an accessory building to store more stuff, I guess. Just get more things out of, undercover, out of sight, so
Where are you gonna put it, Dave?
behind my house.
Right behind your house?
Mhm.
Okay, on your acre, whatever that you've got carved
Correct.
out there? I mean, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Which was recently enlarged due to the recent boundary adjustment that we don't get to be involved with anymore.
But we just changed that so it would fit, yeah, setbacks and
There's
everything.
even more room for it.
I didn't have any questions and there weren't any additional conditions or stipulations placed on it by the planning commission, correct?
No.
Are you gonna repaint it? What are your plans? Just put it up as is, or are you gonna?
Probably repaint it later, once I figure out what color I want it to be. It's a faded blue right now, but looked pretty rough where it was sitting over there just because in the weeds and everything, but I think once it gets stood back up, it'll look quite a bit different.
Your plans basically is to have the building pretty much weatherproof, so you can store material in there out
Yeah,
of,
100% enclosed. Yep, doors on it. Yep, so.
Okay, any motions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for David Chuck for a 4,000 square foot accessory building.
I'll second that motion.
Katie and Tim are motion second. I'll do this roll call. Tim?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Boyd?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank
there you go.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Mayor, Council, follow-up. I'm going to start with Tim on assignments.
Okay, I don't have a whole lot other than, we met as a housing committee to work on the external ADU, development, so to speak, so that we can come up with a proper ordinance and code that will qualify us for the state's requirements for moderate income housing and so forth. We done quite a bit of work on that. We had a pretty good list. The mayor's got that list to give to the planning commission. We'll be following up on that just periodically to make sure that we haven't missed anything and that the planning commission is working towards getting that put into place. So we actually made quite a bit of progress. It was a lot of discussion, and I think we're going to be right on the mark with that. I attended ramp training with Bob the other night. It was both enlightening and discouraging.
How so?
It lasted all of about 30 minutes and I expected more, but that's probably because I'm new to it and just wanted to glean as much as I could, but they were very thorough. We do have contacts. This Shelley, anyway, she's very open. Call her, text her, email, whatever. So we do have some resources there with the county to help if we need to. I just wanted to be as much informed so that I could be a backup whenever necessary. But it's a good program. So one thing we do want to do is encourage, they're up for every so many years, we have to reinstate the ramp program.
Every 10 years.
Yeah, and this is it. So we need to make sure that, whoever we talk to, we encourage the approval of the ramp program. They talked about 62 or $67 million that they put out in the last couple of decades. And so there's a lot of good things that have happened there. We would like to see that continue. So we'll continue to support the ramp program. I believe that's all I had. Unless you can think of something I missed.
Mike? Can't think of anything.
Legislative Policy Committee meetings with the Utah League of Cities and Towns. We went to the last one. There's another one again on Monday. That's where we really encourage the league to help us with our liaison and communicating the city's feelings and desires with regards to new legislation, and to make sure that somebody isn't slipping something strange, behind our backs. So I'll have probably more to report with the next meeting after going to that on Monday.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Okay, Katie.
Just a reminder, the last day to register to vote is October 25th. And I encourage everyone to vote in person or bring your ballot in. We have a ballot drop box here in front of the city offices that it's very convenient and don't even have to put any postage on it. So make sure that you're doing your civic duty by participating in your democracy. And then Parks Committee, we have completed our NEPA documentation for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, which means we can move forward with installing the park equipment at Mountain View Park. So I know that our Public Works, thank you. They've been working on expanding that footprint. We had to do a little bit of a redesign because the way that it was laid out was interfering with the backstop of the softball field there, but we were able to move things around so that it'll all fit in a similar footprint. And so I know that they've gotten all of the equipment moved out, the old equipment out of there, and then are working on making that larger, lengthening that footprint. And so we should, I scheduled us a parks meeting for the 24th so we can kind of discuss next steps on that and how we start getting stuff in the ground there. So that is exciting, and I'm glad that we have that, we're over that hill. And then Veterans Day celebration will be on November 11th, which is a Monday at 11 a.m. at is this one we do at Smith? At Smith Family Park. And then just a reminder that the Halloween trunk or treat is on October 28th as well here at the city offices. And then I think that, and then I did the development agreement webinar for Utah League of Cities and Towns, which this is my second time, but it's still, I learned a lot from it, and it was really helpful. So I saved also the attachments that they sent out in the chat during that. So if anyone on the Planning Commission wants those, I can share them with them as well. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Hey, Boyd.
Just a couple things. Flock cameras have been, the agreement's been signed, location's verified, and I think we're off and running. So just waiting for them to come and do their thing now. So just on the trunk or treat, we have some backup candy that the city bought. I just remind you, just please come. I'm sorry I won't be here, but if we can have lots of trunks. We've sent out flyers to a lot of the businesses, new and old, so hopefully we'll get some of them responding. I think it's a great night for it. The 28th, I think, will work well. And then Monday, we will be interviewing for the senior director. So, okay.
Is that it?
I think that's close. So,
Okay, thanks, Boyd.
Thanks.
Hey, Bob.
I have a couple things. The emergency preparedness plan update. There was a little foible on my part because I got focused on computer issues. But after talking to Lisa Schwartz and working with Casey, we met our requirement to get them turned in, and they have been accepted. So note to self, don't get tunnel vision anymore. The old building, the update for the old building is the carpet and trim are in, the blinds have been purchased. So the windows have been replaced. The blinds will be here next week. There are 2 new tables that have been procured for radios. So now we can attach to the antennas that were installed, or antenna singular. We do need to find a conference table. So if anybody has any resources out there, I did ask Lisa to put a broadcast out through the county to see if there's any old,
Ask Liam too, when you see him.
okay.
And I know sometimes the school district has like surplus equipment,
I
so.
think the county does too, so yeah.
Yep. And if nothing else, there are some very reasonable items on Facebook Marketplace locally that, nice quality, good condition, fairly reasonable prices. So
Do we have a size, any particular dimension you're
we
looking
would
for?
we'd like to be able to seat at least 10 people. That would be the size. As far as the length, I don't have that dimension. But we'd like to be able to seat up to 10 people. That would be adequate. I did attend the ramp training. Thank you for driving the other day. It was very pleasurable getting to converse with you. The one thing that you mentioned was we need to proliferate people voting for the ramp. We, sitting on this side of the table, have to be bipartisan. So just tell people to vote, but don't try and persuade them which direction. Either vote for or against, but if you say vote.
For ramp, can't we?
Well, that came up in the meeting and it said, stay bipartisan, just stay neutral from our perspective.
Yeah, but this is a bipartisan
Yeah.
issue, so.
It is.
Yeah, I was
They
gonna say,
just-
it doesn't,
They just said, be careful.
yes or no.
That was the final comment, was be careful. But it was very good training, especially for me being new to this as you were. I learned a considerable amount. I attended the do's and don'ts for development agreements, and that was also a very good training session. I attended the Weber County Preparedness Fair. It's not really a fair. It was just a meeting last night, but they had displays of emergency preparedness items and ideas. And the earthquake lady was there. And she has 2 more sessions before November. She retires. And Governor Cox decided not to replace her or fund that effort any further. So
Because we're not gonna have any earthquakes ever.
never. But she's been doing it for 28 years and it was phenomenal getting to listen to her for my last time, last night. The bottom line coming out of this meeting yesterday was be prepared. You don't know when something's going to happen or what's going to happen. So immediate preparations or long-term preparations, just be prepared for the unknowns. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you, Bob. One of the first things I want to say is thank you all for being so proactive and willing to attend all this training, whether it be ramp or for development agreements, any of that, because the more knowledgeable we are about things, the better we're going to do. And I'm sure the planning commission has been doing the same with all that. That's going to help us all just, get down the road without trying to learn a new language about things as we go. So thank you all. That helps a lot. Okay, as far as my assignments, and luckily, a lot of things I had written down, you guys have covered, and so this will be short. So WACOG attended the housing subcommittee with David J. He's not here, so I'll take care of his part of this. League of Cities and Towns did discuss future legislation. One of the things they talked about was the Commission of Housing Affordability, also known as the CHA, C-H-A.
They love
And-
an acronym.
Huh?
They love an acronym.
They love acronyms. They will be making recommendations during the session and before, which includes a state housing plan. And of course, there's going to be more to come with the LPC, and Tim's going to be very involved with that, and I'll be as much as I can. One of the things they mentioned was they have this thing about partnership over preemption. What they mean by that is partnership, meaning we as cities doing things, with counties, with other cities, with the state, in order to go after this housing need. So that's a partnership over the preemption. The preemption is basically like what Lyle was telling us earlier, where somebody wants to come along and tell us that anybody can build anything they want to, wherever they want to. That's the preemption we don't want, because communities are unique. They're not all the same. And everybody in the meeting agreed that, not everybody, we should be allowed to have our own unique housing units, as well as, we shouldn't be telling Ogden how to do theirs either. So solutions should be unique as well. In regular WACOG, Weber Human Services had a presentation about looking into increasing funding from the federal government for senior services. They gave us a letter that are circulating around, basically that most folks that are getting of age, I'm gonna say like me, most desire to age in place. Most people want to age at home. They don't want to have to go somewhere else. And many are suffering from feeling isolated. And it happens when you wind up all alone and without, places to go like senior centers and whatnot. So we want to keep those things going. And one thing I found interesting is one of the potential solutions for some of this is actually ADUs. Because with ADUs, they call them granny flats or whatever, you can actually move grandma into the backyard, or maybe the kids into the backyard and granny can stay in the house. That's, solves some housing issues as well as some of these senior issues that are going on. So.
That was another really good class that I went to at the League of Cities and Towns conference. Was Farmington City is doing some pretty innovative things as it relates to ADUs and property and ownership of the ADUs and the land. So it is, it is home ownership friendly. And that was a really good class that they went to, and maybe something that maybe there's some information too that they could share with our planning commission as they start looking at ADUs. But it's really progressive and was really interesting what they're doing.
Absolutely. And what the interesting thing about ADUs is, just because I've been saying things somewhere around my phone, suddenly my Facebook feed is filled up with, tiny homes and ADUs and stuff like that. There's actually some very interesting designs out there.
Now the rest of our phones are going to have it.
Yes. So I'm speaking to all of your phones. So you're all going to be starting to get this coming across. So I had to do with WACOG. I did go to so after WACOG was the ramp public hearing, I did get up and speak in basically for ramp, because I'm able to do that as a resident citizen of Weber County. One of the things I said, and I'm sharing with people, is imagine our cities and our parks and all that without ramp. We wouldn't have Smith Family Park. We wouldn't have half of the things that we do have. A lot of the activities that are going on, whether it be the Perry's Egyptian Theater, any of those things without ramp. And it's only 1 cent per $10. It's, not that much. I'm hoping everybody, I'm going to go ahead and say, vote yes. I'm going to go against because I think we should.
It was advice, not necessarily
Advice. Okay, well, I don't listen to advice all the time. I think it's a good thing, and we have taken advantage of it, and I think we should.
And I think what people don't realize about ramp too is, building new parks, you've got impact fees, which can be used, but replacing and maintaining parks, ramp is a critical piece of that, because without ramp, cities would bear the burden of that cost solely, and it helps keep things up to date and fresh and new and helps out a lot there.
Yeah, because even like the Trails Foundation that I'm on, they use ramp funding for a lot of the things they need to do as well, including something that's going on tonight. So as we shorten up this meeting, the fall trail mixer is tonight at the Monarch. It's going on right now, and it goes until approximately 8:30, and I think that's what Doug was going to. And one final thing here is Richard and the veterans are planning on 11/11 on 11/11. So that is my report, and we have one last agenda item.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second your motion.
Boyd and Bob, motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you
I have
all.
a question for you. As I was doing the
Did we go okay, Andrew? Huh? The what? It's being, yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to stop the meeting.
Yeah, Bailey, Bob, Boyd and Bob, which was always the same. The Monarch is on 20. Yeah. Ups and because if you take 21st, you don't.
I'm not though.
Oh.
Yep.